Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pits of Motor Chaos. This is yours, Dave. I got a line of special guest, top all-car tractor driver Karen Stalba. How you doing, Karen?
I'm very good. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. So, Karen, I know most of the people probably read this already, but you want to tell everyone the news?
It was kind of a shocker even to me the way things all came about, but we just purchased Josh Hart's A-Fuel dragster operation, and I'm going to be back full-time, hitting it pretty hard in 2021.
Yep, back in the top all-car dragster.
Yes, I took a couple of years off, well, kind of. I ran in one race last year, in 19 actually, and we had done some testing, and I've been busy with my kids. They're in junior dragsters, and that's been really important for me to make sure I give them the time they need.
Right.
I've been driving an alcohol car for 20 years. I think it's almost 20 years. 96, 97 I licensed. So I took some time, and we were struggling a little bit and limited on crew. And I just decided, let's take some time off and rest, and we'll regroup. And sometimes when you decide you have to come back or you want to take some time off, it just things will work out. I didn't even expect this. At one point, I was even thinking, well, if I don't drive again, it's okay. I run some super comp and bracket race with my other car, and I was content. And next thing you know, an opportunity came along with Dean and we started to work on my own car. We all met at Eric Sindrich keeps the car at his house, and he's been a big help to me since we got my A-Fuel car, and we all worked pretty good together as a team. So Gene and Bobby came down, and we were going through my stuff, and he went to talk with Josh about possibly buying some of his equipment, and it turned into a whole, hey, I got an offer you can't refuse, and we just bought all of this stuff. So it came about really quickly, and but I'm excited. Everybody's excited. I know my kids are too, so it's been a while since they've seen me win a race.
Wow. So you got two daughters in the junior dragsters?
I have a son and a daughter, Paul and Emily. So, and they've been, Emily's been driving. She just finished her third year. And Paul, I think it's been his fifth or sixth year. And I think he's only got 3 or 4 left. He can't wait to get in a big car. It makes me sad, but he's ready.
Wow.
So
how are they doing in the junior dragster? Are they pretty successful?
Yeah, so far, this year was crazy because we got started late, but Paul started the year off awesome. He won a $1,000 race in New Media Dragway Memorial Day weekend, and he was in a couple of, I think 3 other finals. He was in the New England divisional race final against his sister. They ran each other, and he beat her. And then he was in the final of Virginia, and he lost to the boy that beat Emily in the semis. And then we raced at Cecil County one weekend just for one of their regular points days, and they had to run each other again in a final, and Emily beat Paul this time. But overall, they've been pretty successful. We were in the basement this weekend. It was my daughter's 11th birthday on Friday, and she had some friends over, and we were all in the basement, and a couple of parents come to pick the kids up. Their daughters also, mostly it was junior racers here this weekend. A couple of Emily's girlfriends that race juniors were here also, and we were going through trophies, and Paul has like 7 Wallies. Emily has 3. And I said, man, this year's going to be my time to catch up to the kids. Well, to Paul, he's got me crushed right now. So a little competition going on there.
Wow. That's pretty neat. So let me rewind the clock back with you, Karen, and ask you, how did you get into drag racing?
I guess most, like a lot of young people do. I grew up around it with family and friends of my father's, and when they were in high school, him and his friends were always at Atco Dragway here in New Jersey and running their street cars, and then they got more involved with faster cars and dragsters and bracket cars. My dad ran a bracket Top Fuel Harley, local in Englishtown, and I always went. We always went when we were kids, my sister and I. And that's just where we were. Family friends had cars. My dad used to paint a lot of the cars and welded a lot of motors for even the pro teams years ago before they sent everything back to, to Keith Black or wherever they had to go to get welded. But on the East Coast here, he was one of the only ones welded the block. So that's how I got to know a lot of the racers out there. And I graduated college, and my dad's friend Tom said, I'm thinking of getting the car back together because him and his brother Jeff ran for many years together. And Jeff stopped driving in, I think, about 91 or 92. And the car laid around, and Tom wanted to get back out there. And we were always together at the track, me, my father, and Tom. And he just had said to my dad, do you think she'd be interested in driving? And, that was it. I got in there. I licensed in 96, 97 I started. I think I traveled so much with my job that it was hard to get it done in, fast. I was in Europe and I was in Germany and all over, Chicago, Montreal for my job at the time. So I'd be away for weeks at a time, and I'd come home and it would rain, so you'd miss the weekend. And then it finally worked out. I finished my license up and started running a lot of the divisionals, and we didn't do too bad. It took me a while. I'd won my first race in 2005 up at Lebanon Valley. I had crashed there in 2002, and then a few years later I came back and won it. So it's, I guess, just like everybody, most people that have gotten into it, it's because of their family, Sometimes it's rare that you see somebody that just decided to go racing. Actually, that's my husband. His family wasn't into it. He got into it, and he started many years ago, and that's where we met. We met at the racetrack. But he didn't have parents, or his father wasn't into it. He didn't have family that was into it as much. And, they almost didn't even want him to race at the time. He had to hide that he had a car for a while. And then once they got to know it and be comfortable with him doing it, and he had his own money to spend on it, and they were cool. He started a business and was able to do it himself. And, they're big supporters of his and ours and of my kids and everything. So that's how we got into it. So, and then I drove the alcohol. That was a supercharged car. I drove the blown alcohol car for Tom. And I got married. We had my son, and I took a season off. And then I came back, and then I decided, wanted to have another child. So I took another season off, and I had my daughter. And then we thought about coming back. My husband wanted us to go a different direction. Tom, that I drove for, he had another driver, Tom Jones. He had another driver in the car already, and they were kind of, comfortable the way it was. I think at the time, Darvin Martinez was his name. And my husband wanted me to go the A-Fuel route. So we had talked about maybe getting a ride or paying somebody, and the Morgan Lucas A-Fuel dragster came up for sale on Inside Top Alcohol, and my father saw the listing and said, why don't we just buy our own stuff? That way we don't have to spend the money on a ride. And so we did. In the first year, we struggled like crazy. And the second year, we won the Northeast Division. And since then, we've had, limited success. I really haven't done anything major. But I'm not out there like everybody else is, with the family and a business and other things going on. I couldn't travel as much as we did, and it's just a few of us that were working on the car. And, it gets to be hard when you're trying to do everything at the shop and then get to the racetrack and you're tired, and you got 3 or 4 of you trying to do tons of work, and we hurt some parts. And I just said, let's take a seat and step back a little bit. But so this year I ran some bracket racing, and I ran some super comp at a couple of the divisionals locally, and just ran everywhere with my kids. We got in the truck and went all over the place. When my husband was out of town, he was on a 6-week tour or 7-week tour chasing between NHRA and the $1 million races and some bracket racing things. And so my kids and I, we get in the motorhome and we take the trailer and we head out somewhere to race wherever we go. And now we're home and we're regrouping for next year. That's all the work now starts.
Yeah. So you excited to burn some nitro next year?
Yes, I am. It's hard sitting out, and I like Super Cup. Don't get me wrong; it's fun. It's a challenge. I stunk at that when I first got in the Super Cup car back in 2004. We were just getting married. We got married in 2005, and 2004. I was driving the alcohol car, the blown alcohol car, and I didn't get a lot of seat time. So my husband Tommy says, you know what? I got all this parts and all these other items. I got spare motors. I'm going to get you a car. So we bought a 2004 undercover car and put it together with all the spare stuff that he had. And it's a pretty solid car, and it doesn't have a lot of runs on it. And I went out and got in that car, and I never drove anything before I drove an alcohol car. That's the first thing I drove down the racetrack. All the years ago on the racetrack, I never drove anything down a racetrack besides an alcohol car. My first time down the track was doing a burnout and a starting line leave in an alcohol car. You know, I never even took a street car down a racetrack. I never had the opportunity. And then he says, well, you know what, you need some seat time, and it'll give you a chance to see the finish line better, you know, going a little slower. So I let go of that button. My head flapped back, and Dave Moan, for NHRA division director currently, Division 1, he came out of the tower and said to me, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen, you know, because being used to watching me in an alcohol car, and then I go out there and look like a goofball in a super comp car, you know. But I don't do it all the time. And once I got comfortable, I started to be pretty decent. You know, I never won anything in it, but go some rounds here and there and just had fun in it, you know. And then there's times I go out there and I'm killer on the tree, and other times I miss it. And then I look at a lot of what's going on out there when I watch the results, and I see some of the lights on some of the great drivers. Even my husband sometimes, I'm like, oh, I'm not so bad, you know. I might not be the best out there, but everybody has their moments where they're 80 on the tree in super comps, so I don't feel so bad, you know.
Yeah.
And but that's what we do. Now we're just working. You know, we were out in the yard today, or in the shop today, taking motors out of both the dragsters to get freshened up, and we got a trailer for me and the kids to use when Tommy's out of town with the big stuff, and it needed a little overhaul. It's a sleeping quarters trailer, so we gutted it, and we're, you know, doing that. So why not take on another project? But the fuel car is going to be great. We're going, you know, it's ready to run. We just got to get some stuff recertified. I need to pour a seat because I'm pretty short, so I got to make everything reach me, bring the pedals up and all, and they'll be ready to rock.
Yeah, there's a lot of good competition out there in the A-Fuel division.
Yes, and that's why when I took the step back, I said I'm not going to come back unless I can really be competitive. You know, I'm not out there enough to get the data that I need to be able to do it on my own. And it's not like when I leave the racetrack, I come home and we run a business, and we have a couple locations, and I have the kids with school, and they're racing. So when I come home here, I'm really not even thinking about sitting down and studying a computer or understanding things. You know, I get it. I understand certain things. And even with my program, I found out we really weren't so far off. There was one thing we were missing, you know, and most of that's in the bell housing all the time. So, you know, I don't feel so bad about how we were doing. We just got ourselves lost and didn't have the time to think about it, how to get back. You know, we were too involved in getting upset about it all to really figure out what our problems were, you know. And now that we know some of what it was, I feel a lot better, and I feel really confident going in with a great piece of equipment and the support behind me. You know, between Gene and Bobby coming on, they're very talented and they're very thorough, and it will match really well with us. My dad fixes everything. He welds our stuff. He repairs everything, you know. And Eric maintains everything. The car goes back to his shop. He takes it out of the trailer and works alongside. He's got a 40 by 100 shop and packs everything in and goes through the valves and the heads. And, you know, he's always been wonderful like that. If it wasn't for Eric, we really would struggle to be out there. Or my father and I would have struggled to be out there, you know. But Eric has always been a key piece for us. And in the years we've been together, him and Donna, his wife, are like family. You know, I love them to death. And they've done a lot for me over the years. So with them and Bobby and Gene, it's going to be a really good year. You know, we'll get back to winning and being successful. And, you know, I'm realistic. I know you don't win everything in sight out there. The goal is to go there prepared as you can and win. But you know, if you give it your best and you know you did your best every weekend, that's all you can ask for, you know.
Yeah. Well, at least you won't have to worry about Megan Meyer out there.
I know, right? They've got a great running car. Randy's a great guy. He's tried to give me some pointers over the year, and he's been very supportive. And we buy our tow trucks from him, so I've gotten to know him over the years. And him and my husband, you know, they chat all the time here and there. And she's just a talented racer. She's done very well for herself, and she's got a great team behind her. And she knows how to market herself, that's for sure. She knows what to do, you know. And I went to school for engineering. I guess I should have gone for marketing. But I know the technical side of things, but it's definitely hard when you're trying to find some support and some sponsor money. And, that's my goal next, is to try to find a little bit of help us get down the track, help pay the crew, get from race to race, pay some of the expenses and things. And I do have a lot of support. I do get support from Lucas Oil Products. We've been with them for 10 years now since we bought the A-Fuel car. They've stayed on board with us and the kids for the past 10 years. And they're great products, great company, and they really support the racers. And we're pretty proud to have them on board with us this long, and hope we make them very proud also. And we get a lot of support from other people here and there, some product help and everything. And now I just got to pay the bills.
And I'm sure you're always looking for new sponsors.
Always, and it's you have to have something to offer. And now I feel that with this ride and with who's behind me and supporting me, I think I have a lot better shot at that. We can really offer something more than being middle of the road kind of racers. You know what I mean? I think we had a really good operation. We were thorough. We were prepared. Always prepared to go. We were missing some things in the tune-up, and we have competitive parts. I always did have good stuff. Some of it's a little outdated. Little things are outdated here and there. And I had a solid car, but it was going to take a little bit to do what I wanted to do to get back up to speed. And we have a car now we're just going to get in and go with.
So let me ask you, Karen, how was your first time experience ever going down a drag strip?
So the first weekend we get in the car, and this was with the blown car. So driving a blown car is the most challenging. I had the funny cars, alcohol funny car is the hardest to drive. Short wheelbase, your hands are all over the place. The car's going everywhere. You're trying to keep that thing straight. And you're trying to shift and leave the starting line with the RPM screaming. So that's the hardest to drive. But with the supercharged blown alcohol dragster, and you're shifting twice, leaving the starting line at 6,000 RPM, that took a little to get used to. I started in Tom and Jeff's original, or their final car, and it was. I don't know. I got in the car, and they said, just to do a burnout, and I drove a stick shift and a clutch. That was my first car anyway. So, clutch pedal and everything, you get the feel for that. And they said, just leave the starting line, do the burnout, and then go down the end, feel it out, see how you turn it off the finish line, make sure you're comfortable with all that, getting the car stopped down there and everything. Second pass out, they said, all right, listen, leave the starting line, shift to first, and then shut it down. So I go out, I leave the starting line, everything really left good. I shifted to first, and I drove it all the way through first. I punched second and shut it down. And I got to the other end, and the guys came to get me, and they're like, what happened? I thought you were going to shut it down after first gear. I said, well, it was going straight, and it felt really good, so I stayed with it, and I shifted it to second. And they're like, oh, okay. And they said to each other, man, I guess we got our driver, So I was comfortable pretty immediately, I'm a pilot. I have a pilot's license. I've had that since I graduated college. Also, I got into flying through my dad, and I was learning to fly. And the plane I was renting, the gentleman wanted to sell it so he could move back to where he came from. And I was like, you're going to sell this plane out from under me? So I'm a 23-year-old kid. I bought this airplane. I have it to this day. So procedure, understanding, to be careful, to be cautious, go through checklists. That's what I've been used to anyway. And once I got in the car, it's the same thing. You have to have a procedure, do the same thing on the starting line all the time, and, be cautious. And, I know my limits. I've crashed, and through no fault of my own, I lost a tire. But you start to feel where the car's going, and you don't drive over your head. And I know my limits, anything could happen, but I feel that I can drive it through so much tire shake or so much of this or that. And then it's time, all right, the wall's coming up pretty close. Let me get out of this thing and calm it down, So, but it was pretty exciting. And then I think it was my fifth pass out in the car. We go and we get all set up. And again, we were always limited crew. So me, my dad, Tom Jones, and somebody showed up to help us just to hang out for the day. And we go out there, and I leave the starting line, and the front end went about 10 feet in the air. We had no wheelie bars. I set it down on the track, and it broke the A-arms on the front. And I was like, well, that ruined our weekend. And then after that, we decided not even to fix that car. We bought a new car. Tom bought a new car and had it fit for me, and that's what I drove till the end. And then I left that car and got the A-Fuel car. So, and that was different. That one drives, you get in it and you're really, once you leave the starting line, you're just hanging on waiting to pull the parachutes, and not that you're not driving it, but it's definitely nowhere near trying to drive something that's tire shaking and you're trying to slap second gear and pull third gear and then, pull your parachute. So it's two different animals. I miss the fun of a blown car. I miss the challenge of shifting and driving and doing all that. But I do like the way the A-Fuel car pulls.
Yeah, having that fire coming out.
Yeah, and when the flames are up at night like that, that's pretty great, And I feel that just the sound and the noise and the power that's there is pretty cool, and I enjoy it. My husband's when we bought the car, the A-Fuel car, he bought a seat also. We were going to pour him a seat so that once I got settled and we got the car running, he was supposed to take a pass because he's never driven anything besides Super Comp. So the fastest he's gone, I think, is like 180 something, maybe 180 some miles an hour now. And he wants to get in the A-Fuel car. He's like, I don't care, I'm making a pass this time because the seat just sat. We never poured it. It's in the box on a shelf in the garage. And he said, I'm making a pass in this thing this time. And so I'm like, I don't know. He better not steal my seat. But he's pretty successful in what he does, and I think he's just excited to see us back out there and driving and doing well. And again, the opportunity came along that you couldn't turn down. So I'm excited.
So what was the fastest pass you made in A-Fuel dragster?
I've been 527. And I think the fastest mile an hour is like 274. So it's going to be pretty cool to be going pretty fast. We were talking about it out at Eric's house. We were working on my other car, and Bobby and Gene were there, and we were just going through things and talking about windshields because my windshield's pretty low. And I said, well, we had cut it down because at one point it was always interfering with my eyesight looking at the tree, and it would shake and vibrate, and I couldn't concentrate on the tree. And I said, so it's not really bothering me. And they said, you know what? It's going to bother you when you're going 285. So we're putting the windshield up there. So we were going to have a higher windshield built, but now it's, again, with the new car coming, we're going to get my car together. We're going to put everything, back. It should be like a turnkey car, so if someone is interested, then we'll be able to move it as a turnkey car. I do have a motor for it, and I've got pistons and rods, and I have a fairly new crank. So we're going to get things back together, and it'll be a nice car for somebody looking to get in, at a reasonable cost and go racing.
So now, Karen, with the piloting experience you have you ever thought about driving a jet dragster?
I always messed around with Ken Hall when he was driving for Al Hanna. We had this running joke about I'm not worthy, and I said something to him once about, man, I had to take that thing for a ride one day, and he's like, yeah, you should, but I don't know, I think that would be pretty neat, but I think it would probably be so quiet, like driving, flying an airplane, and I've never been in a glider, but I can't, it's almost like I could imagine how, I've shut the engine off in an airplane, when you do stalls and you do engine failure stuff. Not that you shut it off, but you put the power down to practice, engine failure landings and things, and it gets real quiet in there. So I can't imagine, I know a jet car is not totally quiet, but when you're in there with that helmet on and everything, all the noise is behind you, and just that thrust alone, it would be pretty neat to take a pass in one, but I don't have the luxury to go travel and, to every weekend. Those guys, I think that's why Ken stopped. It just got to be so much. They were at shows every night of the week, and they're traveling everywhere. So I couldn't have that lifestyle to actually go do that. That takes a pretty good commitment, But if I didn't have the kids and the business to run, maybe, go be that next jet driver.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm pretty good with the A-Fuel setup.
So how many events are you guys looking to run next year?
So far, I'm pretty sure we've got 14 on the schedule. It looks like there's enough national events with the alcohol cars at them that I'll be able to make without having to travel too far. And then we're planning 7, I think it's 7 regionals also. We've got a schedule that we're working on, just trying to make sure we find out what we're going to be ready for. You know, we're trying to be ready for the Gainesville regional national event doubleheader. So if we can get everything certified and get out there for that, that'll be really big. And then we'll see how the year progresses, and if we need to go somewhere and travel to try to get some points and you know, move ourselves further up top 10, you know, then that's what we'll do. You know, our plan is to start, see where we wind up locally, and then if I have to head west, then we're heading west. You know, my husband is willing to send us. He says, as long as we get the car going, we're going, you know. So right now it's like 14 races on the schedule, and if we have to add more, we will be adding more.
So now, Karen, when you first got into drag racing, did you have any drivers out there who were inspirational to you or you looked up to?
Gosh, you know, it's hard because I don't know. I hung out with so many of the alcohol racers, so I think more so like I can remember, you know, of course, Shirley. Everybody sees Shirley out there racing and everything, and my dad welded some motors for her years ago. You know, so as a kid, you have the Shirley T-shirts because she'd send T-shirts with, you know, with the block when it was coming to get repaired or something, you know. But it's hard to say, you know, because I just wanted to drive, and I think it was just a combination of getting the opportunity that I didn't think I'd ever have, you know. Gosh, you know, and it was mostly the people around me, you know, Jeff Jones. I grew up with them. Smokey and Joe, you know, John Samolak drove the Pleasure Seeker's funny car, and those guys were locals. They lived in, you know, in this basically the same town as us growing up, and my dad helped out with their cars and painted them all, and you know, so I don't know, you know, you look back and all the different women, like Shelly Anderson, I think she was, you know, big in it when I was just graduating high school, getting into college, and you know, being able to be out there and then have families and still do those things. You know, I think it's when you can balance all of that. You know, I don't want to do things that are going to hurt my kids. I want to make sure that my kids know that I'm 100% for them, and I support them in everything they do. You know, and try to be there for all their sports and their racing. You know, that's what we're trying to balance out to make sure that my program this year, we're going to get to as many races as we can, but then there's specific ones for the kids that, you know, the Eastern Conference Finals in Bristol and things like that they're important for me, for my kids, you know.
Right.
And, you know, so, you know, Shelly Anderson, Payne now at the time was Shelly Anderson. And, of course, you know, Carolyn Melendi, watching her running Pro Mod and Super Gas, and you know, she was always pretty big in Englishtown, and she's out there now with her grandson running juniors and junior street. So, you know, women like that, strong women, confident, capable of driving, and understand the technical side of everything too. It's pretty cool.
So, what do you enjoy most about being a drag racer?
The speed, you know, the win lights when they come, the excitement of bettering yourself every time, you know, being, you know, in a way, I guess, being a role model for others too, you know, whether it's drag racing or just knowing, even besides the drag racing, my career path, you know, I became a mechanical engineer. I worked for many years in the field, and now we run a business. My husband has a business that was pretty successful before I met him, and we've grown it. You know, we had a few setbacks here and there, and then we rebound, and we're doing pretty well right now. And it gives us the opportunity to do what we're doing. You know, we have great people that work for us. AA Auto Salvage is his business. We do used car parts and auto scrapping, and so, you know, I guess just to be able to share those experiences with other young people, whether it's female or male. I have a son too, so I don't want to just say, oh, I do these things for, for women and empowerment and all that. No, I want to show anybody that they can do whatever they set their mind to. If they want to get out there and race, they can get out there and race. They want to do things that aren't normal. Well, I guess especially for women, they're doing things that aren't traditionally a woman's activity or career path or things like that. So many more and more women are going this route, especially drag racing. There's so many women out there. When I started school, I went to Stevens Institute of Technology for mechanical engineering. And when I started school there, I think the ratio of women or men to women, male students to female students was like 6-1 or 7-1. There was 6 men for every female student, and by the time I graduated, I think it was down to like 5 or 4.5 to 1. So now I think it's even better. There's so many more women, coming into technical fields and being able to do well. And I guess that's what I look to do. Whether I win or lose, I just want to show people that, I'm out here doing it. We can do it, and you can do what you want to do, And that's, I guess, what I show for my kids is, hey, my daughter never wanted to race. She wouldn't do it. She was like, never. Anybody'd ask her. And my son, of course, was right in it at 8 years old. And then the rule changed. They could be 6 years old to get in. And my daughter was 6, and she said, never, I'm never driving, Next thing you know, she took a pass down our driveway in my son's car, and she's hooked, So she's competitive also. And, I guess just being supportive or showing the kids they can do whatever they want to do.
Now, is there anything that you hate about being a drag racer, Karen?
When I break stuff, when you hurt something or when I do something dumb or I guess going red, but, no, I mean, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it at all. I guess there's really nothing I don't like about it, late nights, sometimes even the late nights working on, when you hurt stuff and you're up there pretty late, that's pretty tough, but you make the most of it, and usually we have a good time putting it all back together, as long as we're going rounds and have a chance, if we blow it up on Saturday night, as long as we're in on Sunday, I guess it, you feel pretty good about it, it's not like, oh, we lost and we're packing up junk and we got to go home, everything's broken, but no, I wouldn't be doing it if I had something I really didn't like about it,
Now, if you could have the fans remember one thing about you, what would you want that one thing to be that they remember about you?
I guess that no matter what, I'm not quitting. I was ready to. I guess just know that I want to do things 100%, and I'm back at it now because I'm going to be able to do it at 100%. And I don't know. I've been I feel I've always been a good sportsman. I don't think there's anybody out there that could say I'm not. Maybe there's a couple hiding out there, but for the most part, I've never tried to do anything that would make my fellow racer or my opponent in the other lane mad at me when I get out the other end. I just want people to know that I'm a heads up, straight shooter. I play fair. I want to win, but I want to win right. And I want to be successful, and I want to be competitive.
Now, when you get out there in the staging lanes, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions at all?
No, not really. I guess usually we mess around. We have radios and stuff. So as I'm starting to get strapped in the car, my dad and Eric will order a cheeseburger and French fries, and so lighten the mood a little bit, But we just have a good time, We try, even when we're stinking it up, when we were struggling there a few times, you're just trying to make the most of it. And as we get ready, I don't mind talking. I'm not one of those that's, I got to be by myself. I know some people don't want anybody to talk to them in the lanes, and I don't mind that. I think that's what helps you, helps you stay loose. You're not sitting there overthinking anything. And I guess everybody's different though. But for me, I feel like I just, I relax by chatting with everybody, and make sure everything's good on the car. I look through, make sure my parachutes are ready to go and nothing's jamming anywhere and fuel is right and nothing's looking bad and nothing's leaking, and then we go.
Now, do you have any favorite tracks?
I don't know. I really like New England. I grew up around Englishtown, of course. That was my favorite, but they're gone now. And, just because it's only a couple minutes from me and it's where I license and everything, ATCO is my, it's where we hung. It's where we, for years we were there in the bar and we were at the track and we raced weekends bracket racing. Even when I wasn't running an alcohol car, I'd bracket race there. And, we always had a really good crew of people. So, and I like Atlanta because I've run it up there a few times. I got to get that race win. I've had mechanical failure. Well, one time was mechanical failure and another time I went red in the final. But, and I like Norwalk. I think Norwalk's a fun place. So, and Vegas. Vegas is pretty good. Not that I've raced there, but I've been there with my husband a lot of times. And I think it's pretty neat out there. So maybe we'll get out there this year.
Now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from?
I have Simpson Race Products. They built me a pretty nice suit a couple years back, and helmets and everything like that. And as far as like in-car stuff, Jeff Kondratik's always helped me out with stuff, and helmet bars, the padding, and everything like that, and Simpson seat belts, and that's who we've used.
Okay, so what would you consider to be some of the milestones that you reached in your drag racing career?
Well, I've won the division. That one was pretty big for us, especially, I actually won the division against Arthur and Jean Gallant when they were racing together, so it was pretty neat. All my race wins, my 3 divisional wins have come against Arthur's car. Once with Arthur driving and twice with Dan Page driving. So it's pretty crazy now that Jean is going to be helping me go fast. I was an all-star the one year, and I don't know. I had limited success in that car, but I had a lot of fun. Next milestones are national event wins and, maybe an all-stars win and championships, more championships. I'd like to get their regional championship, and, of course, everybody's chasing the national championship. That's what I want.
Most embarrassing moment on the track?
Gosh. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that one licensing pass where it went up in the air, but I don't know. I got red. Probably that one. I went red to Ashley Force in the final of Atlanta, and I had it. She struggled. She got down, and her car was dropping cylinders, and she was beatable. And I went red. Just lifted. That was probably it. One of the more embarrassing. So, when you had a good shot and you were in the final the year before also, and come up short.
Fondest memory of your drag racing career?
Probably the win in Epping, because my divisional win in Epping so far, probably one of the best. We had just got the A-Fuel car the year before. I had my son and my daughter there, and my mother wasn't at my first win, but she was there at this one. And it was hot that weekend. I can remember it was like 110 degrees out, and Bob Lang was the division director at the time, and he called all the drivers in and said, listen, we're not going to rush you. Take your time. Don't be sitting in your cars way ahead of time. If we're waiting on you, don't worry. We know it's hot. So, and then as the night went on, it got muggy and a lot cooler, but muggy and dewy. And that was a great win because I got to the other end, and my mom was there, and Tommy, and Tommy's been there for all my wins, but my mother wasn't there for the first one. So I guess to have my mom there and to have my kids were there with me, that was a great one. Cecil County was my more recent win, and I guess the most memorable about that was that we were going into the final, and we had hurt a cylinder head. And at the time, Tom Jones, it's going to be 4 years now, he passed away from cancer 4 years ago. But in 2013, we were going in the final, and we had hurt the cylinder head, and we had a lot of work to do. So Tom and Kristen, and at the time Frank Schuster was driving for him, they all hopped in and worked with us and got the car going. And we wound up winning the race, and they were there with us the whole way. You know, I had been driving for Tom for a couple of years, but he's like family to me all that time too. I've known him since I was, you know, before I was born. Him and my dad were friends. So to have them there and be in the winner's circle with us too. And Ernie Kendall, of course, was a good friend, was a supporter of mine. He always helped me out. He passed away 3 years ago. So to have those guys with me at my last race win, and they were both in the winner's circle with us, with all our crew and their crews and everything, was pretty memorable too.
Okay, couple fun questions before we finish this interview now. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
What's your favorite food?
Veal cutlet.
Veal cutlet. Favorite beverage?
Dr. Pepper. I'm drinking one right now.
Okay. What's your favorite music?
I like country, and I don't know, a lot. Country, club, I like dance music, and a lot of Foo Fighters.
Favorite movie of all time?
Better Off Dead. It's $2.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Slow drivers.
Okay. You a dog person or a cat person?
I was neither. We've had a cat for about 10 years. I love her to death, and now we're dog people too. I just got my daughter a puppy. We have a Maltese, so it's been a few sleepless nights the last 2 weeks.
All right, so now if people want to find out, you know, where you're going to be racing and all that good stuff next season, what's the best way for people to follow you?
Well, I'm on Facebook at Karen Stalba on Facebook, and we also have Stalba Motorsports is the page I use to update the entire racing program between the kids and Tommy's program. You know, he runs Super Cup and Super Gas, and then he bracket races all over. And the kids with the juniors. So I post a lot there about where we're going and what's coming up next. And once I have some schedules out, I'll be putting that up there. And everybody can follow along and keep up with us there. And if you're at the racetrack and we happen to win, come on down to the winner's circle with us.
All right, so you have any final words or thank yous, anything before we close?
Yeah, I can give a good shout out to my husband for having confidence in me and wanting us to get back out there, and to Jean Gallant for coming and finding my husband in the trailer in Dallas and saying, let's do something. And, of course, to Eric Sindrich and Donna for helping me and always being there for me. And my parents for helping me out with the kids when they were babies and carrying around the racetrack while I'm racing. And my dad for working his butt off on the car and fixing everything when it's broken and just getting us there.
Awesome.
And the Lucas Oil always sticking with me, and Tom Bogner and NGK. Oh gosh, there's a few.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll forget something.
Yeah, probably. All the folks at AA Auto Salvage that allow us to go out and do what we do and keep the place running when we're not there.
Awesome. Well, Karen, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do this interview with me tonight.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Well, hopefully we'll do another one in the future and talk about some big wins.
That would be great.
Awesome. Well, you have a great night, and I wish you the best of luck with the 2021 drag racing.
Great. Thanks, Dave, and here's to a better 2021 than 2020 was.
Yeah, hopefully we get all this coronavirus stuff out soon.
Yes, for sure.
All right, you have a great night, Karen.
Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.